Hi guys, thanks for joining me. If you guys can introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, my
Go on,
name's
Carmen.
Carmen, and we just spoke over each other. Can we do it again?
Okay, go on.
We
You,
could
you
do-
introduce yourself.
Just introduce yourself because I can just cut this bit out. Go on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my name's Carmen. I'm part of the Bain Senior podcast.
My name's Amre, and I'm the other half of the Bain Senior podcast.
Thank you guys for being here. So I'll just get straight into it then. So growing up, did you ever feel as South Asian men that you were less worthy in the eye of society? And if so, at what point did you realize this?
Interesting.
Go
I
on,
think
Carmen.
feeling lower in the age. I mean, sometimes it can be when it comes to like conversations because obviously in the Asian community you have a different culture. Especially when it comes to dating, for example, or marriage. A lot of we have this, restrictions in which religion, or some people have caste. And I think in those areas, sometimes when I used to say like, these are sort of how we go about with it, it just made you feel a little bit like you weren't as freely able to date or talk about things in the same way as maybe white British people could, or other non-South Asians. So yeah, that's probably one example I can give.
I think during times of playing sport, whilst playing cricket, I like to play cricket, and I've been playing it ever since I was a kid. So going to different clubs and experiencing sort of a little bit of racism going on between like picking certain types of kids to play, and like a bit of favoritism, a bit of politics, you know what I mean? So that's where I would sort of like say growing up, that's what I felt.
Right, fair enough. So that brings me on to the next question. What are the unique challenges to being a South Asian man here in the UK?
Unique challenges. I think
Mhm.
South Asian man, like it's I'm not gonna lie, being a man, there's different challenges in some respects. Maybe not as difficult as what women go through. I think with South Asian men, you're still prone to racism. In certain environments where there's you're very few South Asian people, and whether it's in your circle or in the team, whether in sports or in the workplace. Because I think when there's only one of you and there's not many of your kind, then a lot of people, if they say some comment that's racist, some people laugh at it. So that's where you feel you're cornered and that you don't have anyone there, or they don't understand your problems or why that was offensive in that respect, I think. Yeah.
And I think with a lot of South Asian men, they also have this duty of responsibility that they have to do well in education, that they have to do well and sort of prosper in the education department so that they're well off. So going into things such as like sports, arts, or anything related to that, it's sort of refrained from. And I feel like that's from like the parents of the first migrants coming in and making sure that, that the kids sort of do well. I mean, you can understand where, parents are with that, but it's as a South Asian male, if somebody is very interested in going into something for example, the arts, like I study architecture. I love the arts as well. I have my own art company called Asenia. So it's just sort of like being able to do what you want to do and just like breaking out and be free, because it's society will tell you one thing, but it's up to you. It's your life. You take your life and you go with it.
That's great. I'm going to add on to that question then. But what's the most important challenge that men face today?
Men, I think, is themselves. It's yourself. That's the biggest challenge. Your mental health. How and it's about with men. I think we're preordained. We grow up to be strong mentally. We don't show emotion. We always like, don't show weakness. Don't talk about your like feelings, because that's how we've been growing up in school. You want to look strong in front of your friends. The strongest guy is the most popular person, the one you look up to, the alpha male type. So I think that's the biggest challenge the men have is themselves. I think external factors do come in, but there's always, I think in life there's always going to be ups and downs. There's always challenges, but I think men struggle a bit more with emotional challenges in life. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Godman as well. I mean, it is a drastic, big thing. Even not being South Asian as well, being a man in general, expressing your emotions is quite tough. And it's just one of those things. So yeah, I completely agree with Godman on that.
No, I honestly love that answer, actually. So I'm going to completely flip this now. Why do you feel that in our culture, we see a woman's role as nothing more than a wife and a mother?
I think it goes dated, but I mean, we can't say like that's in South Asian communities are far behind from the West, because it was all one sort of style mindset back in the medieval times before empire. I think we just continue to carry it on, and I think it's sometimes there's a thinking in the Indian, I don't know, from Indian mindset, that the mother gives birth to the child, that the mother is the child that nurtures the child more, and has the pressure is more on the woman. I think they always say that what woman goes through pregnancy, that will have an impact on the child. There's a lot more pressure, and I think the bonding between a child and the mother is there because it's obviously the child was in the mother's womb. But from there on, it progresses that there's still an element of the mother has a big role in the child's relationship, and that they see the father as a breadwinner and not really involved in the child's upbringing as much. But it's all financial, it's all material. You know what I mean? Like provide a house, it's provide, not the emotional bonding. And I think the Asian community has kind of embraced that far more. And then they, as it progresses on, it's not just men saying that women should be housewives, women that are saying it too sometimes. No, I mean, we can't say, we can't say that being a housewife is a bad thing either. Because in the Western communities, well, I mean, in my job, I work in family law. A lot of people, a lot of women are willingly being housewives. They say, I'm a housewife because someone's got to take care of the children. So it's not an outdated thinking. It still happens today. It's just a choice. But the idea of that the woman should be the cooking and cleaning, I think, that needs to change. And that's where we come, that it's equal. And, so yeah, sorry if I went a bit in depth.
No, that was great.
I feel like also the ideology, even if you look back in history with the Indians, like, they used to have this concept of like Pati Parmeshwar, and they used to feel like, that men were sort of like the breadwinners of the house, and like, they used to go out hunt or whatever, like, they used to earn the money, and then, the women's used to be at home, they used to do the housework, they used to do chores and everything, look after the kids. So this whole concept is something that's ingrained in the culture. So I feel like because it's ingrained so deeply into the culture, I mean, so deep that even movies are showcasing, like Bollywood movies, like they're showing that submissive wife, being accepting whatever the husband says, and the husband being arrogant and being that, annoying figure, basically, where it's just stereotypically that's how how Indian household should look like, or an Asian household should look like. So yes, I would say that, there's a lot of depictions through media, various type of media that, do promote that type of behavior, as a sense. And it's something that personally, if I look at it, I completely disagree with this concept, and I feel it quite bizarre, really, that people are still accepting that, they want to be like living like that, quite simply, because it's somebody's life. If somebody decides that they want to go and educate themselves, or go and like do something, by all means they should be able to do that, and they shouldn't be in that restriction where like a husband saying that, no, you can't go and do this, you can't go and do that. And it's quite upsetting to sort of like from somebody's mindset to be like that. And it's just like it's really like confusing for me, like personally. That's what I'll say, like why would you do that? But when I break down the crux of it, it's just like it's ingrained so much into the culture and society.
So I'm going to add on to that question then. What do you think needs to change in the next 10 years within the South Asian community?
What needs to change? That's a tricky question. I think it's difficult because there's tons of things that can be changed, but it takes time.
Well, pick one key thing then. What's one thing that stands out to you guys?
What stands out that needs to change in the
South Asian community within them?
Too many.
I think also to answer that, I'd say depiction of families, depiction of like true realities through mediums like Bollywood movies and whatnot. Even any South Asian film industry, and sort of like attitudes toward it. I mean, thing is, because society is developing this thing where, like, obviously when our parents came into the Western world, right, they were first migrants, right? Obviously the second ones, then there'll be third, fourth, fifth, and like as time will develop on, the understanding of like openness and freedom will also come through. It's just one of those things that will come with time. But in order for that to be, for that to speed up and for that to, like, prosper, we need more conversations like this. We need more awareness going around about, like, for example, your company, your organization is perfect for it, so we need more people stepping up and just like making sure that they're talking about it, really.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely important. I think with the regards to your organization, like why can't I think for me personally, it would be domestic abuse, probably the biggest problem in the Asian community. It gets to the point where it links from being in the patriarchal mindset, treating women as housewives. The thing about the Asian community is it's not a Pakistani thing, it's not an Indian thing, it is a South Asian problem. It stems from the idea of the control and dominance of a male person. This is what general speak. Obviously, it happen. There are male who are victims of domestic abuse as well, but it's what needs to change is the openness for men, for Asian men, to speak about toxic masculinity and speak about the cutting the ego and how to treat one another properly. I think that's one aspect. I think maybe not just men, but I would say men specifically on maybe physical violence and controlling and the extremities. But I would say maybe male and female, if we were to say in this country, like our generation, maybe both sides when you talk about like not to be controlling, not to be abusive, what to happen. Like also, I think is we can help the victims, right? Support victims that are going through the abusive relationships, but we also got to be preventative as well, and we've got to stop it from happening in the first place. And that's where it comes to education and actually really making people realize, because you can't read these things in a book. You can only be explained through experience. I've seen many an example. There's a documentary called Call Me Dad. It's on YouTube, and it's in Australia, where they had fathers, men who undertook a domestic violence course to prevent them from being abusive. And they showed examples. They were teaching. It was a workshop, and one of the guys in the workshop still ended up hitting his wife during the workshop, because it couldn't help it. But then somehow at the end of the work process, they end up changing and realizing these things. And these are sort of the things I've not seen up to date any domestic violence preventative workshop in our communities in the UK.
Yeah.
There's not many in the UK anyway, but we need that. We definitely need that. And if men come forward and admit, yes, I am abusive behavior, I just go anyway. Even if you're not in a relationship or in a relationship, think about how much change it could make.
I think also adding to that point is about self-reflection. Is quite something that some men as well need to do as well, because it gets to that moment where, like, there's a lot going on in life. There can be a lot of external factors, things about like job, school, university, and societal pressures that are coming onto you. And I feel like when somebody has that self-reflection and they look into themselves and sort of like a question, what's going on? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Is quite a major key and quite effective as well. And I think that goes with things like meditation and, focusing on yourself, really.
People don't do that enough. That's the biggest problem. Self-reflection is a massive thing. It's the bigger thing is not just saying sorry or not just apologizing to that individual. It's actually looking at your own faults. But not many people want to do that because everyone believes in themselves so much to the point that you lose yourself and you think, I'm not in the wrong. It's all about me, me, me. Why should I do this? Why? No one wants to go the extra mile for another person in a relationship, whether it's family or whether it's in your partner, because it's seen as weakness, especially from a man perspective. They sometimes want the partner to be the one chasing, and they want to be the person who's got the alpha male dominant mentality, and leads to abuse, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay, so that brings me on to my next question. This question is important to me because growing up, if I had heard young South Asian men give advice on this following question, it would have helped someone like me a lot. So, and that is, what advice would you give to young men today?
Young men today?
Yeah.
That to believe that it's okay that you can cry, you can show emotion, and you can show weakness. That you going to the gym, looking strong is not that. It's not about everything. That's part of your physical strength. Your mental strength is a different thing. It's not about just enduring it and taking it all in. It's also about releasing the emotion, because I feel the difference between, I feel with women, they're able to deal with their emotions because they go through that biologically with their bodies and whatever they are, and it's society acceptable that they can cry in public. But men crying is like, is not seen as much. Men just take it in and they're in their own space. But the thing about men is, deal with your emotions, and also talk, being able to, in our boys group chats, in our circles, that we talk openly about each other if we've got problems without being judged, because then you never know, someone might be able to advise you. I think with women, they have more of those discussions that are personal related. I think we just talk about football or, you know, video games or whatever we talk about.
Yeah.
There's nothing related to any issues in our life. You know, life's not perfect. So I think that's what we would love to change. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my advice would be is just something where I'm touched on with the last question, really, is just sort of self-reflection. And, you know, what Godman said about it's okay to cry, it is really okay to cry. You know, there's some moments where things do get a bit too tough. And what you've got to realize is that, yes, life is a crazy, crazy roller coaster. And there are a lot of ups, there are a lot of downs. There may be double the amount of downs than ups. But it's just one of those, that thing where you just have to just reflect, take a step back, take a breather, and just really assess yourself and the situation. See what are the possibilities, because there is always a light. There is always a light. You've got to realize that. And you know, this aspect of like, when Gunman was touching about group chats and conversations, it's really about how you approach and how you create your circle. Your circle is quite important. And I know it's just like very easy to say, but you know, it's about how you approach things and how you converse with other people. And it's up to you how you connect with certain people. Like, for example, myself, I'm quite open with Gunman. Because you know, we talk a lot, we talk and we can share our hearts out. You know, if there's any situation, if I'm feeling not so great, I can talk to Carmen, and I feel like, you know, Carmen can do the same thing with me. I don't know if he does, or you know, but that's
definitely.
But the thing is that it's just about finding that connection and being able to open, finding that someone, either it could be your family member, it could be a friend, and just express, talk, and conversation is the most important thing. So focus on that.
I honestly think those are great piece of advice, and hopefully young men that are watching this will actually take that on board. But thanks guys for your time, and I think that was brilliant. Unless there's something you want to finish this on, I think that's great.
Well,
any quotes? Come on.
I don't know. I just think that it's like, it is serious, because I think it's like women spend a lot of time dealing with their emotions and talking about, engage with self-care or mindfulness or things that are very important to a human being. And it's not what's on the outer exteriors, in the interior. And they're very, this is just general speak. I know there's not every guy where we're bashing men and saying we're just all lazy and stuff. But from what we've seen in South Asian males, especially, is that it's and just South Asian people. Let's expand it to people, not just men. People, as our communities are very money focused, money driven, career driven. Yeah, that's important. Obviously, in these, you got to live. You got to earn money to live, right? But then parents, especially, like we just lose track of like going our way to deal with our mental health. You know, if someone's got a mental health issue, you know, don't shout at them, don't argue with them. Why? Maybe get counseling is not a bad thing. Speaking to a doctor, because it's confidential. You know, getting help is that important thing. And I think in our communities, we're very tight knit. Let the elders sort it out. Let the elders in our communities. And I think the elders in the communities are wise, but you know, we don't know. We don't know whether, you know, it's their ideals would match with what's in line in this country here. It's that clash that we have. And I think it's time that, you know, we change now as a generation. You know, as South Asians, to stop living in we've got to open up from the bubble. We've got to start expanding ourselves out and, you know, reaching out to other communities and just start changing ourselves as people. But yeah, that's why my side.
I feel also like with what, adding on to what Godman said, is that society is full of energies. There's a lot of energy going on. Either it's negative or positive energy. Somebody's going to feel it. Energy is passed on. It's one of them things where like somebody could have a good day, you know, that's positive energy going off and they can feel better, they can feel good about themselves. But then also there's sometimes where somebody could feel really bad. You know, it's that cluster of energy that goes on, and it's just that thing where everybody wants to do something. They want to get something ticking. There's a lot of things that are like, oh, I need to do this, oh, I need to do that, oh, why does he have that, I want to have that. You know, there's a lot of things that go on. And what it really is, and what's really important is just breaking that energy and just stopping everything and just relaxing and calming down and looking within. Because the world outside is a fast place. It is going very fast at super speed. But you're living your life, you're living your thing. You have to have that self-reflection and just like calm down and just have that meditation.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's really important.
There's another thing I wanted to build on that, which came to my mind now, is about social media. Obviously, our generation, we've lived most of our life with social media around. I mean, when I was young, I think it was about year 9, maybe, I had Facebook. That's where it started. It was progressively started to become more. Yeah, that's late, isn't it? Yeah, and then
that's the same age I did it.
That's late. I think, yeah, and then it's just like it progressively started taking over your life. I used to look at life before social media. We were able to converse with each other. We weren't engrossed in a virtual world that not everything is real. Like you look at social media now, you're not going to post yourself when you're feeling down or you're on your downs.
No.
Everyone's, there's filters, there's angles on every picture, every man or woman, doesn't matter. Content what we put out is all positive and it's all something, which is good, but we are too engrossed in each other's life and into each other's success. And we need to realize that social media is just a hobby and not taking over your life.
It's turned into this
and I
thing
admit
where
it does
take over.
Yeah.
It is that showboating aspect of it.
Yeah,
it's
it is.
Like, oh, look at me, I've got this. Oh, look at me, I look like that. You know what I mean? And it's just when you break down the reality of it, it's just it's also, you have to apply this to yourself. I had a major detox with my social media following and who I'm following, because I'm not going to lie, the content that I was seeing wasn't adding on to my life. It wasn't something where it was benefiting me. It was just ridiculous. So I had to have that cleanse in order for me to actually follow people that actually have somewhat of like something that can teach me during life, or you know what I mean. So
and this is for people that are obviously creating content, whether you're a podcaster, what page you have, and it's in general. Like when you look at your own personal account, you see how many friends you got. That's just a number, but how many real friends you speak to? You might have I might have 900 and something, whatever written on there, and then if I look at it, maybe probably only like 4 or 3 of them that I've actually spoken to maybe in the last few weeks. So it's not that it's sort of not about the people that have 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 are happy with their life or they're successful. It's there's a lot of things that are behind. I think that's maybe what for our new generation that we've got to focus on. I mean, use the content platform to expand, that help each other out. Like whether we're doing something or another content creator, that helps. Putting a message out there. That's the benefit of social media. But don't let it engross your life.
Don't fall into that sense of addiction.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. So I know it's quite easy for going into that sense of addiction, because everybody's posting certain things and all of that, and it is easy, and it's easier said than done breaking out from it. And it's just one of those things. It's a habit. So when you start doing something, it's not going to be easy from the get-go.
No,
it's something that takes time. It's like if you put it into your routine, say for example, let's say you take half an hour of the day where you don't look at social media, put that away, and then you can just keep on taking to 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours eventually. It's one of them things. I'm not saying don't look at social media, but it's up to you. It's subjective, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I completely agree. No, that was great, guys. Thank you so much for that, and I think we should end it at that.
Thank you, man. Thank you for
Just
having
nodding,
us.
just nodding.
Thank you for having us.
No, thank you, guys.